Hey guys, what's up? And I really apologize for the lack of videos lately. I was supposed to be putting up more after I got back from my visit to New York. Work has just gotten away with me, guys, to tell you the truth. I've been up to my neck in swords. I've been up to my neck with, shipping out orders, dealing with customers, answering questions. And not to say that I'm not enjoying my job. I am. Oh boy, I am. But it's been busy. And I rarely have free time. And the little bit of free time I have, it's usually me trying to catch up with other things. And there's still just the lighthearted videos I got turned into work. Any idea how many Dark Souls 2 videos I have on this machine right now that need to be uploaded? I've already beaten the game. Anyway, let me get on with this. You didn't come here to hear me. I'm sorry about the videos. You didn't come here for that. You came here for this. The topic. Ferguson. Oh God. This topic. I honestly feel that the obvious things that people are going to talk about, the talking points have already been discussed ad nauseum. There's nothing I can add. There's no insight that I can put into this. It is what it is. I mean, what more can be said? Look, unless you really have a major problem with the types of people that tend to get shot in situations like this, there is no other way to call it other than the kid shouldn't have gotten shot. I'm not saying this because he's black and I'm black. Look, I'm just looking at simple rules of engagement here. Was he armed? No. Was he trying to attack the cop? No. Did he have any weapons of any kind? No. Got shot anyway. Case closed. It shouldn't have happened. Period. There's no self-defense thing here. There's no... I think, honestly, unless somebody happens to be showing me evidence of, like, an Uzi that the kid whipped out, and the cop like, oh shit, and then somehow the kid, like, because he was dumb holding it, stupid gangster style. By the way, if you're holding a gun like that, threatening somebody, you deserve to get shot. If you're gonna do it like this, and it flew out of his hands, and we just happen to not have the footage of it flying out of his hands, and he goes, oh no, and the cop's like, oh hell, he might have another one, bang, bang, bang. Unless you show me something like that. But that's not really what I wanted to talk about, because everyone's talking about that. No matter what you happen to believe, no. This case and other things that have happened before, and during whatever, is just, it's making me feel that, okay, things have escalated. We're going to be seeing more of this shit happening to more segments of the population that normally don't have to deal with this. That's what this says to me. And I have to admit, it's a little bit of a leap because it's happening to the typical, this is a typical scenario. Anybody who's black, you know what I mean. This is a typical scenario. Cop shoots black guy. It's become cliche. Hell, something that some of you might remember, and this actually happened the day before I actually made it into New York City for my little vacation. This guy got choked to death by the police after he broke up a fight. Two guys were fighting. This guy went in there, broke up the fight. Somebody apparently called the cops, and the cops zeroed in on the guy who broke the fight up, choked him to death. And as far as I know, nothing's happened to those guys. This is a scenario that's been played out a lot. And to the point where there are people who openly point blank say, F the cops. Forgive my shattered memory, but I'm remembering some other cases, some guy who went nuts killing cops, and then I think his wife or his lover or whatever basically said she wished he had shot more. That's real rage. I don't think she just said that because her lover got killed. It's more just straight up, we're tired of their crap. And it's not, this is the thing, here's where I start getting to the point that I want to talk about. It's not just black people who feel this way about the police. So many, from all walks of life, unless you happen to be privileged and separated from everyday nose to the grindstone society, people don't like the cops. I mean, you'll hear a lot of lip service about, yeah, the boys in blue, they have a hard job, all that, but private conversation? You watching this right now, do not pretend that you're a friend of the police, unless you happen to have family in the police, or you happen to have friends in the police. You don't like them. I hear you people. And when I say you people, I'm talking about Americans in general. Don't like the cops at all. And the more downtrodden you are, the worse it gets. What's kind of funny to me is that if you're looking at working class and middle class, it's more of a kind of a general distaste for the cops, like they're always in my business. But if you're more on the segments of society that just always have to deal with shit, you always you're poor, you're broke, you're working 7 days a week with a job that pays you minimum wage, whatever. If you happen to either be, everyone expects black, but whites who are downtrodden, lots of them. There's more downtrodden whites than there are blacks. Look up the statistics. It's true. There are a lot of immigrants who have to deal with crap, not just Mexicans. I've heard beef from the Polish. I've heard beef from Russians. I've heard beef from people from Grenada. And the less you have the lower you are on society's ladder, the more it becomes a straight up distrust. Like they're gonna come and just put a bullet in my head in any minute. It's not just like a hate or an anger. It's more like it's more like shit. It's fuck. Even if you didn't do anything wrong, it's just like, yeah, they're out for us. They're out for us. They're out for us. That's the feeling, and that feeling has been escalating, and it's been beginning to spread outward from. It's no longer just the usual suspects that feel this way anymore, because they're beginning to feel the boot in their necks too. And seeing this sort of brazen, just gun down a kid, fuck it, is telling me that we're going to be seeing more of this happening, and there's going to be a clamping down on the rest of society, and the parts of society that originally didn't feel crap like this are going to feel it. They already have. We used to have, before it was isolated incidents, or it would be things that they would never report. See, I've noticed a pattern here when it comes to situations like this. I've noticed several patterns. The one pattern that I've noticed is that every time somebody who is the usual suspect getting shot, and it's someone who shouldn't have gotten shot, because let's face it, Michael Brown shouldn't have gotten shot. So what do? They do this one trick that amuses me and pisses me off at the same time. And it pisses me off because people fall for it every time. That's the main reason why it angers me. What they will do is they'll bring up the suspect's past. Like, oh, this guy used to be a thief. Like what they did with Michael Brown here. They were like, he stole cigars. Okay, he stole cigars. Should he have gotten shot? No. But what they will do is they'll bring it up, or they'll say that, oh, he was a mean type, or they do this all the time. Like if somebody got shot in a situation where there was no reason for them to have been killed. Oh, what they do is they try to find a way to get the segments of the population that normally don't have to deal with this to think he probably deserved it, even if they didn't. But what they do is they're like, well, he's one of those types, so it would have happened sooner or later, or he probably provoked him. That's what they do. And how they do that is they'll bring up the person's past, or they'll bring up something about them that, will make people like this who don't live every day with their nose to the grindstone, or, dealing with, the crap of society. It'll make just enough for them to start thinking, probably a hoodlum, and go about their business without really thinking through that. Wait a minute, this has nothing to do with this. The guy was no threat. He could have been freaking. hell, this could have been the worst person on the planet. For all we know, maybe this person really was a clone built from the genetic material of Hitler, Mussolini, or I don't know, the creator of the Ice Capades. It doesn't matter. The point of the fact is this person shouldn't have gotten shot. In that particular circumstance, in that situation, didn't do anything wrong, wasn't a threat. But they bring this up. They'll always try to bring up the past of the individual, and the public falls for it. It ends up being a debate about, no, well, he wasn't really a thief. That didn't happen. But no, the point, no, let's get back to the subject at hand. In this slice in time, this instance, were they doing anything wrong? No. Case closed. And even if they were doing anything wrong, is what they were doing wrong enough to warrant bullets? No. Case closed. They did the same thing to the guy who got choked in New York. Oh, this guy sold cigarettes illegally. Did he do it at the moment when the cops came in and started choking him out? No. So that has nothing to do with it, but they bring it up anyway. I'm laughing about it because it's really freaking stupid, but it's actually kind of tragic because people fall for it all the time. It becomes a debate about the person's character and not about the actions that took place in that instance, which is what this discussion should really be about. And to be perfectly honest, if you're the type of person who's like, they deserved it, but yet they didn't really do anything about it, it says something about you. And what it says about you is not very flattering. So that's one pattern I always see played out. But the other pattern I see is that it's always the quote-unquote usual suspects that they show in the news whenever something like this happens. You rarely hear about situations like this happening to people who it's, let's just say, not supposed to happen to. And you might go, well, because they don't get themselves in those situations. I still remember back when I was living in New York, Giuliani was running things. There were, for all the stories about all the black guys getting shot or beaten up by the cops, and there were plenty. If you lived in New York when Giuliani was running it, you know. Oh boy, you know. But what people don't know is that white people were getting shot up too. Middle class people were getting shot up too. It wasn't black, Puerto Rican, Chinese, white, actually, you know what? F white. Italian, Russian, Polish, it didn't matter who the hell you were. If the cops didn't like you while Giuliani was running things, you were going to get a boot to the ass whether you realized it or whether you wanted it or not. Giuliani's plan at the time when dealing with criminals was kind of akin to putting a tourniquet around somebody's neck because their arm was bleeding. It's like, F it, beat the crap out of all of them. We don't rough all of them up. Yeah, you're going to get the hoodlums and you're going to get everybody else too. I still remember looking at a listing of different, this was when the Village Voice still had some really interesting articles at the time. They had put up a list at the height of the craziness of all the people who were getting either roughed up or shot by the police. And there were lots that were just middle-class people minding their own business, and they just went into the wrong situation at the wrong time. My favorite was this one white woman driving down the BQE in an SUV, big SUV. Cops pulled her over, asked for her papers, and then just lit her up like a Christmas tree. This never made the news, at least not mainstream news. You didn't catch this on News at 11. No, you had to look at alternative newspapers to find out about this, and good luck finding that. You know, that's how I found it. And what was really funny was the excuse the cops put. We thought she had a gun. One, it turned out that what was in her car that looked like a gun was a green water pistol. Two, there was no way they could have seen it anyway because she was in one of those kind of higher SUVs. You got to go in there to look at it. And the bullet holes that went through the door showed that they were rather several feet away. So, yeah, could have happened to anybody. And it's not just about shootings. 1995, March 23rd, there was a huge freaking, I was there. I still remember seeing this. In that protest, cops broke down, it was a protest for a bunch of college kids from all the different CUNY schools. And if you don't know what CUNY is, it's City University of New York. Basically, city-run colleges. tuition was being raised again. Federal aid was being slashed at the same time. And it's like the reason why CUNY was made in the first place was just being completely undermined. It was supposed to be a way for people who normally could not get into college to be able to get a college education and get a better job, to rise out of poverty and lower income statuses. Now that was being taken away from them little by little because of rising tuitions and slashing federal aid for no reason. They got pissed. They protested in City Hall and got a boot up their ass for the trouble. Cops broke down their own freaking barricades to beat the crap out of everyone. These college kids who were there, they weren't all walking around wearing hoodies and baggy pants. No, these were college kids. And they went in, the cops broke down their own freaking barricades to get at these people. I was there. I saw it with my own eyes. I was right there. I was there so I could write about the results of how that protest would go in the college newspaper the next day. And it went the way I feared it was going to go. I was lucky to get out unscathed. Most of the guys I went in with ended up in a paddy wagon. I was one of the few people to get out without getting touched. That's a story in and of itself. Some of you guys already know that story. But they beat the crap out of anyone they can get their hands on. Didn't matter who you were. You could have looked like a preppy, nice guy, with a sweater and a bow tie, your hair all nicely cut up. Didn't care. Beat shit out of you. Black, white, I hate those terms. Woman, man, old lady, young kid. There were high school kids in there. Didn't matter. They got their hands on you, into the paddy wagon you go after you took a few lumps. And this was back in 95. New York. And it's only gotten worse. Ask the Occupy movement. When, they were protesting things in colleges and stuff and got a boot up their asses for the trouble. People getting maced in the face and shit. And they didn't do anything. They did nothing to provoke the situation. They didn't have weapons. Didn't matter. The establishment says you're a nuisance and didn't matter. It's happening. It's getting worse. And I'm sorry, I've wasted a lot of time on these examples. I really want to get to why I'm thinking what I'm thinking. I've been noticing an escalation in these sorts of things, but the only things that really seem to get reported is either the usual suspects, or if somehow they just can't contain the information. I've known several, they're friends of mine with a lack of melanin in their skin, who have told me several times the problems they've had, like getting slammed on car hoods by cops, where they almost get a bullet in their ass by cops just because they didn't move fast enough. They got no weapons, they weren't threatening nothing. Doesn't matter. They could have been off, or they got beat up or something. Shit happens. It's been getting worse. And to me, the reason why this has probably been getting worse is because, one, they've been able to get away with it. In any society, if you're able to get away with messing up the downtrodden long enough, and society just accepts it, then that means they can start doing it to you too. Because you've accepted it so much that it becomes just part of the norm. So when it finally happens to you, who's going to fight for you? The rest of the downtrodden's already been fucked up, and they definitely don't like you supporting this shit. Now you're getting lumped up too, and who are you looking to? Who's going to help you? That's exactly what's happening now. And two, it's going to definitely happen more because people are getting more and more pissed off. The economy, even though they're saying it's getting a lot better, but the jobs haven't been flowing out the way people would like. And a few jobs that are out there are retail jobs, flipping burger jobs, and not the type of jobs that are going to help you guys feed your family, especially since you can't even get a living wage in this country, save for a few little areas here and there, where you got people either who have consciences or the super liberal types, whatever. For whatever reason, they're able to get it, but it's very few and far between. Most of the country, be happy with your 725. You can't really raise a family on that. And unfortunately, a lot of middle class people who are used to have decent jobs, now that's all they can get, if they can get it. Many times they can't. So then they get on unemployment, they get on food stamps. Maybe they might be able to get a better job, but they're still on this assistance, and suddenly they're not as happy as they used to be. They're fed up. You can't keep this happening for too long without a bunch of unrest. And it's not just people like me who realize that. It's also the people who don't want to give you guys a break, that don't want to give you the money, that don't want to share the resources. They know you guys are going to blow their top, and they need a way to keep you guys from showing up with the pitchforks and torches. Well, you already got a militarized police. What would you do? And it's already happening. Again, ask the Occupy movement what happened to them. Some of you guys watching this right now, probably, if you think back, because it's funny how you'll see an incident where you get a little bit of a glimpse of just how tight the locks are getting around you, how much more of a lockdown things are getting to be. You'll get a glimpse of that, and then you'll just kind of like forget it because you're too caught up in your everyday life, with your job or with the news or the latest thing on YouTube. But think, I'm pretty sure you've seen glimpses that things are getting a little bit rough out there. It may not necessarily happen to you directly, but you're seeing signs of it. Maybe it happened to a friend of yours, or maybe you saw a video where it showed something happening to people who you wouldn't expect. But that's a fluke. Or, well, they antagonized him somehow. They antagonized these people. And then here we go again. Now it's about, you got to think about this for a second. You now have to walk tiptoe around a group of people who are supposed to keep the peace in a democratic republic where you're supposed to be free citizens. It's gotten to the point where before you point a gun at a cop, you're going to get shot. Then it was you brandish a knife around him, you're going to get shot. Okay, I can still kind of understand that. You go into a threatening stance, you're going to get shot. Okay. You yell at them, you're going to get shot. Wait a second. You say the wrong thing, you might get shot. You're in the wrong area. You might get, wait a second. The criteria is just getting more and more loose here. And it's happening to everybody. I mean, yeah, black people, and you know what? Let me just people who are the downtrodden, people who are always having to deal with the crap that happens in society. It's not just black people. Immigrants have to deal with it if they don't have a certain standing. White people have to deal with it. The people that you guys like to call white trash, those idiot Jerry Springer motherfuckers, they're human beings too. They're American citizens too. They have jobs. They have families. Not all of them are the usual stereotype of the guy just sitting on a front porch, sitting in a wife beater, drinking a beer and beating the shit out of his mate. No, not all of them are like that. In fact, a good number of them, I would personally venture to say, most of them are just trying to live day to day. They got to deal with shit from the cop. They've been dealing with it almost as long, if not as long, as black people have, as Mexicans have, as other immigrants have. But nobody cares because, I hate the quote from a movie here, but it's like, what the Joker says. It's going according to plan. They deserve it. They're going to, whatever. But it's going to start happening to the rest of you. Because, let's face it, many of you guys watching this right now, many of you are looking for work. Many of you guys, you got college degrees. Maybe you're lucky enough to have a really good career. But some of you guys, you had a good job, you lost it. I talked to some of you guys where you had a good job and shit happened. And you're still looking. Some of you guys are lucky. I've been working my security jobs and I've been doing okay with it. And now I was lucky as hell. I mean, it took some work on my part. I'm not going to simply say it just fell in my lap. It didn't. It took a little bit of work on my part. But at the same time, I will say there's a bit of luck that I'm now working something that is helping me to pay my bills. And it's something I really enjoy. But this can't happen to everybody. People are hungry and people are stressed. And it's only going to get worse because as you can look, anyone looking, if you really pay attention to what's going on in the news with corporations and, people with money, they don't want to give that shit up. They're only making things worse. And when you're going to have a population that sooner or later isn't going to take this shit anymore, you got to be ready for them. And they already are. I hate to talk like this because it makes me sound like a conspiracy theory idiot, but this isn't conspiracy theory anymore. Snowden already showed how people are getting spied on. Like it's nothing. We already know that the police are militarized. They're not getting militarized. They already are. What do you think it's for? For kicks? I really hope I'm wrong about things getting worse. I really am. I hope it's a fluke. I hope that, actually this is, maybe people will finally say, enough is enough, and we need to like act like a republic again, and we're going to vote in people who actually care about the citizenry and not corporations. I hope we get people running companies who actually have a conscience and not only have good, strong companies that make a good, strong profit and show how, flexible capitalism can be, but they also actually use some ethics as well and make the capitalism work not just for themselves, but everybody else in this country. I hope that happens. I'm just not really seeing much sign that will. And I'm thinking that things are going to get worse. And when things get worse, people get irate and pissed off, and then stupid shit happens. And then what do you think they're going to get caught by surprise when stupid shit happens? So that's, maybe I'm being dumb. Maybe I'm just taking this one incident here and just blowing it way out of proportion. But this is honestly what I see when I look at this. I know people are looking at this and they're looking at this as a racial thing. Okay, maybe. Well, I don't say they're probably right about that. Racial motivations, sure. Or maybe people are looking at this as a straight up crazy cop situation. F the pigs. The cops are getting too much. Okay, maybe. Probably got a good argument there. I'm not denying these things. I'm not. You guys can debate that however you want. But I'm looking at this on another angle as well. The angle of it's been escalating. This just happens to be an incident that we got in the news, but I know plenty of other instances that didn't make the news, and plenty of instances where it wasn't the usual people playing their parts. And that's my statement to anybody who might be looking at this going, maybe he deserved it. These things happen. One day it might be you bleeding out in the sidewalk because you were in the wrong place at the wrong time. The odds are going up. It could be you. And it will have nothing to do with what color this is. Catch you guys later.